Stephen is an artist.
I am an artist, and all of that exudes through me, and everything that I touch, I want it to be not regular. I want it to be, have character, have a soul, and be alive, and the birth of my hands. And so I often say that this is my biggest sculpture I've ever made.
Hello everybody! Welcome Stephen!
Hi!
so happy that we made it. We worked a little to make this connection happen, and it's going to pay off. This is a very unique van that you have created.
Thank you.
Home on wheels, a true home on wheels.
Yes, my full-time home on wheels, my little cabin in the wherever I park it.
And I think there's going to be a lot of laughing in this one. Yeah. Stephen, you have figured out a novel way to make life on the road work that doesn't only benefit you, but it benefits others as well.
Yeah, one of the ways that I like to help kind of keep myself rolling is let me back up a little bit. A lot of the nomad community nowadays really has latched onto the digital nomad kind of situation. I consider myself an analog nomad because I work with my hands. I have to put in hours to get money back. I don't really like to do the tick, 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 tick all that much. So I've been trying to find some residual forms of income. Last year I embarked on an adventure where I added a new van to my fleet. And with this new van, I'm renting it out of Denver, Colorado, so people can experience van life and take a van on a road trip without having to purchase one, without having to dive in. And it puts some money in my pocket. It puts some money in my best friend's pocket who's managing the rental for me. And I think it's kind of beneficial for everybody to have that opportunity. And it's a gorgeous van too. So
you have two vans.
I have
one
two
you
vans.
live in, one you rent out, so that you all can try it out, tell your friends.
Try van life.
Exactly. And that helps you stay on the road.
Correct. Somebody rents her and I get money, my friend gets money, we're all happy, somebody has an awesome adventure, and if I'm lucky, they share some pictures.
And it keeps her healthier because she's getting used.
Absolutely. That's the best thing for a vehicle is to keep running it.
So the van's happier, you're
the van's happier, I'm happier.
The people who are renting it is happier, and your pocketbook's happier.
Absolutely. Win. That's what we want. Yeah.
Terrific. And which brings us to your van, your home on wheels here. How did you bring this into like a home? How did you turn this into a home? So
the reality of it is I've been on the road for quite some time. This year will be this October will be 10 years since I left Florida. Originally in a Class A RV, then a little later it was kind of home basing out of Denver or Phoenix, and I was traveling in a minivan. During COVID, I was here in Quartzsite, was in the minivan, I was getting ready to hit the road again, had some jobs lined up, and then COVID hit. So I hit the brakes, and I stayed at a friend's house, so she needed some help, I needed some help, so we were able to help each other out. And during that time, the minivan, Rosie, I miss Rosie, I love Rosie. Rosie started acting up, her head gasket was going out.
Rosie's head gasket
was going out, so that became, I need a new home.
Yes, and so you had a minivan camper.
Minivan camper that had also converted with a super simple conversion. I'm 6'2", so like people are like, how's that work? Well, it's tight. Yeah. It's tight. I found this one on Facebook Marketplace. It was probably a little more than I wanted to pay for the van, but it was a lot less than other people were paying for vans.
Yeah. So
I was very satisfied. The couple that owned her was a military couple. They've owned this van. It was for its first year of existence was a charter van. And then they bought it. A family with it was like 6 kids.
Oh my goodness, it was full of kids.
Full of kids. And they were a military family, and they had the Army fly it over to Great Britain where they were stationed.
Wow.
And then drove this van all over Europe. They sent me pictures of the van in Germany, in France, in England. When I got the van, they sent me a little packet of pictures of like, hey, look, this is where the van's been, because they knew I was going to be a traveler. So they wanted to keep that kind of going. So then it came, all right, I've got a van.
Yeah.
I got a van. It was a passenger van. 3 rows of seats, crayons and gummy bears and Coca-Cola. It was gross, to be honest. It was gross. I say I will never buy another mom van, but never is never, never, never. So it just became, okay, everything's got to go. And so I often say that this is my biggest sculpture I've ever made. It's my biggest art piece because it is, it's got painting, it's got woodworking, it's got some, you can't see it, it's got some metalwork, it's got all of my skills, electrical, water, plumbing, all of my skills are wrapped up in this van.
How about we dive in?
Sure, let's dive right in.
Okay.
So, let's show you the van. This van, before we go inside, let's just let you know, her name is Velma Vanship. She is my airship cabin of a van. And the reason that goes is, as an artist, I really love the steampunk aesthetic, and you'll see that leak through in the van. So let's go.
Seeing it already.
All right.
Woohoo!
We can stand right here for a moment.
This beautiful mahogany stained floor I see.
So this van was built on a budget. Limited budget. I bought as few materials, new materials as possible. When I built this van, wood was sky high in the prices. So I actually bought 1 sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, makes the floor, 2 sheets of Luan to make the ceiling, and then about 2 bundles of 1x3s did all the scabs and all the cabinet work. Everything else was scavenged materials, either out of the garage, out of the Habitat for Humanity place, sometimes even parts from the side of the road that I found that I was like, I could use that. Let's go grab it. So when I tore everything out, I couldn't live with that ceiling being so ugly. So I decided to do more spray paint work. And that's just a little op art piece, a little optical art kind of stencil work to do that. And that's once again just done with spray paint.
Wow. It's just, so it's flat. It looks so three-dimensional.
Yeah, it's absolutely flat. It's just a repeating pattern that looks like a woven diamond pattern. Wow. And I just did that with a spray can.
I love it so much.
Used to be gray.
I'm tempted to do something like this now in Pegasus.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I don't know if it comes across on camera, but the lights, the dome lights, they look like eyes and a nose, like a character.
Like little character, this guy. Yeah, with the little... And then little details that a lot of folks wouldn't notice is I reused a lot of the lights that came in the van. I just spray painted the bezels copper to match the theme, because this used to all be chrome, used to be gray. And actually, if we look back here in our cabin where we're sitting, there's spots where the white of the van poke through, specifically like over here.
Oh.
That's normally white.
Oh, but how did you make it? You spray painted it black?
I spray painted it a bronze, a Durnotic bronze color to match the van, so I didn't have this stark white area for the parts that I couldn't cover.
Right.
Everything else is covered in woodwork, but some sections I couldn't cover. I made sure to paint the insides of all the doors. All the door jambs have all been painted a different color so that the white from the outside doesn't leak into the inside of the van.
Nice. And that unified look gives it a larger feel.
Yes, because the white here, don't dig it. I don't dig it. And then, got my beautiful curtains from the thrift store. This was quite the find when I was building the van. Yeah. And it's funny, all that pattern, you'd think, oh, it's busy for a small space, but I'm telling you, it makes it feel bigger somehow. It's really surprising me. Well, I did try to choose similar patterns. If you notice, the bedspread, the walls, the curtains, all have a similar pattern, but I didn't want anything that was, it's still pretty monochrome. And nothing's too overpowering. So, as we said before, this was a mom van, so she's got her bumps and bruises all over from kids opening the doors and banging the doors into the doors. When I first got the van, I got everything cleaned out. I was in Tucson. Doesn't rain much, but when it rained, boy, did it leak. It leaked everywhere.
Uh-oh.
What happened was all the doors were bent from kids hanging on them and playing on them. I spent 2 days on a ladder with my foot and my bending the doors back into position where the seals will actually meet up with the doors. So something to note when you buy a mom van. There's going to be gummy bears, there's going to be Crayola, there's going to be Coca-Cola in your door pockets. It's going to be gross.
So how did you spruce these up?
I painted them red, and it was a lot with them just painted red. So I was like, okay, now I need to tone this down. So I painstakingly sat at my desk and hand cut a couple of stencils into just some plastic.
I'll get a close-up here so we can see the pattern.
And this damask pattern, hand cut, and then I just spray painted the pattern onto this panels and did them here, did them in the back to just kind of spruce it up a little bit. With the intention always of replacing this with wood, but 2 years now, I'm not replacing anything. It's perfect.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I'm not changing anything. What are you? You're crazy.
That's great.
So we've got my refrigerator. I started this van out with a small little 20-quart refrigerator that came out of Rosie the minivan, and that did fine for about a year. But then I wanted to have a freezer and have a little more storage capability, so I invested in a much larger fridge freezer, 12-volt fridge freezer, where I can keep a couple dozen eggs. I can keep ice cream, which is a super treat. And this guy, it's fairly silent. It draws about 2.5 amps when it's running.
What is the brand on this?
This one is
It's a
Kohree, Kohree.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I didn't buy it because of reviews. I didn't buy it because of power consumption. I didn't buy it because of anything other than it was the exact size that I needed for this space. This passenger seat is on a swivel and will turn around. And when this passenger seat is turned around, I have exactly the space for the refrigerator.
Perfect. Perfect.
And that's how I chose the refrigerator that I chose.
Perfect.
One of the most crucial things when I'm doing this van build out was to get the bed height proper. One of the most important things I've discovered when living in a van is that if you can sit up straight and have 1 inch above your head, it doesn't matter that I'm in a low top van. I'm super comfortable here. From here I can make dinner. Got a 2-burner stove, my nice cast iron pans, my kettle.
How luxurious to have cast iron.
So we can make tea.
Yeah.
My little tea balls, because I'm a tea aficionado, and I pick these up whenever I go to thrift stores and flea markets and vintage shops.
Very sweet.
I do have a sink that obviously is full of things. I have a sink, there is a water pump, and it is plumbed.
Oh, nice. What a pretty sink, too. This looks like copper?
It's brass. Brass
and
sink.
Copper
faucet? Yeah, it's a rose gold finish faucet.
It feels so much like a sticks and bricks, but in a good way.
yeah. The micro sticks and bricks.
Yeah.
Under here's where my water storage is. I keep 2 5-gallon jugs.
And the all important.
You gotta have the Jiffy Pop, because you never know when you're gonna have a movie night.
You have to have a place to store
and
it.
You have a place to store it, and every inch in this van has been painstakingly used. There's not an inch that is lost. I built all of the cabinets around the components that I had. I bought the water tanks first. I already had the batteries, and I built the components to fit those specific items. That way I could maximize the space, and then instead of trying to build a cabinet and then find something that fits, and then you have this weird space that you're not using. So I try to maximize every single inch. Smoke detector, CO2 detector, Smoke detector, CO2 detector, gotta be safe.
And look at how you... Oh, everybody, you have to see this. I'm going to get over here and get a good angle. You made them so pretty.
I work in the vinyl industry, and what I've done is, you're not supposed to paint these, so I didn't paint it. I wrapped it in vinyl.
Oh.
Because the white propane detector doesn't go with my aesthetic.
No.
And if it doesn't fit my aesthetic, it doesn't go in the van. As we come down below, we're still in the bathroom. Comes the magic bucket that we all know and love so well. So that guy lives down there. I use a short bucket, half height. I don't see a reason to have a bigger one. And I just got really lucky that it fit under here.
Goodness, that's like a glove.
Yes.
And it doesn't look tight, though.
It's
just snug and perfect.
The van gods were looking down on me. This that you see here is the outlet for my diesel heater. This was the last thing that I installed in my build, and it's the thing that I love the most.
Oh.
I absolutely love my diesel heater.
What kind is it? What brand? Do you remember?
It is a cheap Chinese diesel heater. Comes with all the caveats of a cheap Chinese diesel heater.
We're in the next zone.
The next zone. Now we're in the office.
And you mentioned something earlier too, Stephen, that you a way of marking off your zones.
Correct. So in this small space, I can't have any walls. So I've delineated some areas simply by color. The kitchen is blue. As we see here, the kitchen is blue, and all of this is just done with spray paint. There's nothing fancy going on here. These are the original plastic panels from inside the van.
And the blue helps you kind of know, I mean, obviously you know this is the kitchen area, but it gives you a feeling of a separate space.
Yeah, I feel like it gives me just all red was going to be a little bit much, I feel, and having the ability to just have that kind of zone a little different. Sometimes I try to match the decorations with the color schemes. This is mostly going to be burgundy and brass is the overall theme of this van. So moving along, we've moved now from the kitchen with my nice blue details in the kitchen, and we move over to the office, which is right now, as I'm working, it stores my work clothes, my sleep clothes, and some paperwork that I'm always behind on.
And what is the work that you do?
I do all the fun nomad jobs. While I'm in Quartzsite, Arizona, I do solar installs. I work for one of the bigger solar companies here in Quartzsite, Arizona, and I also do just van build things for friends. People often contact me like, hey, I need a diesel heater installed. Hey, I need a solar system installed. So I'll come out, and if I can help them, I will. And that adds to my analog earnings. So we moved in here. I've got fancy little fun lights everywhere.
I love
to have little
here.
Little details like this to kind of make it cozy.
It really does. And do these make little wind chimey noises when you drive too?
No, the spice bottles up top make more noise than anything.
Classic, yeah. The bananas hanging. It's so domestic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So down in the office area, up top, I keep electronics and crafting things over here. Same with this one. This is all kind of electronic storage. My headphones, my laptop lives up there. Down below here is the pantry. This side's mostly coffee station. I recently got into this AeroPress. It's a fantastic way to not make waste living in the van. And then I just have kind of condiments in one. So I like these little baskets for readily accessible things to have them available without having to go in and out of the cabinets. And this one over here is the food pantry. We got sandwiches, canned goods, snacks, everything that's food lives over there. As you see, I got a little vise here because as an artist, I'm a crafter, and sometimes you need to be able to work on little art projects.
Yeah, and everyone should have their vice.
Everyone should have, absolutely. I can't live without my vice. All right, now into the bedroom. As a steampunk aficionado, Here's my leather top hat.
Oh, fabulous.
Which I have to take with me everywhere. One thing that I had to have in the van is a closet. A lot of folks like to roll their clothes up and fold them up really tight and tiny and kind of put them somewhere. I've learned that that doesn't work for me. I try to roll all the clothes up and put them in little bins. I pull one out, they all go everywhere. It's a mess, then it just gets shoved back in as a mess. I learned that doesn't work for me. So what I did, because I have some nice clothes in here for my steampunk attire, is I needed to hang my clothes. So here's my closet. And I have my winter clothes, fancy dry clean clothes still in the dry clean bag. Collection of pants hanging up. I do keep the socks in a little bin at the bottom. My fancy shoes live in here. And I do keep my work t-shirts rolled up in the bottom corner, but not like in a bin where it's just the work shirt. So the one that's on top is the next one that I wear. It doesn't matter. I'm not looking for the specific shirt, right? I don't want to wear my Nirvana shirt today. It's just the red work shirt or the green work shirt. So yeah, I had to have a closet. Absolutely love the closet.
That is a beautiful closet, and just with the little touches like this frame on it and the hanging beads, just again make it feel so much more homey.
Yes, yeah. When I started this van build, it didn't have a lot of these details, and that was the thing that I saved for the road. I had built out the van, but I figured that I would decorate it as I go, and I brought lots of little things to put details that I like. I found these at a flea market in Tucson. A friend that makes beadery gave me these guys. If you notice up here, just a little side note, I have vents. These are the original AC vents. This is a passenger van. It's got a rear mounted AC unit. A lot of people take those out. I didn't have the time or money to do that. So rather than taking it out, I just plumbed it in. So when I'm going to location, I can pre-cool or preheat the rear of the van using this AC unit that runs off the engine.
Nice.
It doesn't run when I'm parked, but I can pre-cool or preheat the van before I get on site. All right, and back here's cold winter hats mostly and scarves. And that takes care of that. We're gonna go around now. Let's see, what do we call this? We call this the game room now, or the what is it, like the hunting men, the hunting lodge kind of. Yeah, we're gonna go over to the lodge now. So we're gonna go to the lodge. All right. Whew, we made it. Back here in the lodge, we have a library. You gotta have your books. We have my safari hat, which is actually my favorite hiking hat to wear because it's perforated and it doesn't blow off in the wind. I like to wear ball caps most of the time, but when I go on hikes, I wear this guy. People look at me weird, like I'm the ranger or something, but it keeps my head cool and the hat doesn't blow off in the wind. It's absolutely perfect. I'm a fisherman, so I carry my 2 fishing rods up top here. They have to go as they are because they don't break down. They're fancy fishing man rods that have to be the whole length. So they live here. They're just out of the way. I of course have some more decorations. This is a vintage clock that, as the owner that sold it to me told me, it came out of a 1967 Jayco RV or something like that. I bought it at a flea market. This is a weird little contraption that's just steampunky, but it's a thermometer and it actually works.
Oh, because it's picking up on your body temperature. Yeah. You can see it moving. Yeah. That's cool.
I think I picked that one up. Analog, everything. And as you come out of the library, I chose a window van. Lots of people like cargo vans. I don't want to feel like I'm in a small enough space as it is. I don't want to feel more boxed in than I already am. So I made sure that I got a van that had windows. So when I'm laying in bed, I can open these. I can watch the sun come up. I can watch the sun come down. Nice. I've got perforated window film on the outside. During the day, you can't see into my van, but I can see out. At night, that goes away. It becomes a fishbowl if I have the lights on. But regardless, I love to be able to look out the windows. People will talk about, oh, insulation and cold and hot and blah, blah, blah. listen, it's a van. You've got so much space. It's going to be hot or it's going to be cold. It doesn't matter how much insulation I have. It's going to be hot. It's going to be cold. I close the curtain. It helps a whole bunch to keep the cold coming off the window.
Just that little linen curtain.
Just the airspace in between blocks that cold from being. If I forget to close the window at night, I will wake up chilly in that on there. But like I said earlier, my favorite thing's the diesel heater. So if I get chilly, I just come over and I turn the diesel heater on, and it's nice and toasty. I've had it almost 80 degrees in here in like 15-degree weather. Because I was like, I don't care. Today I am spending the fuel. I'm going to sit here in my shorts and I'm going to watch a movie and I'm going to make popcorn. And I don't care that it's snowing outside. I'm going to be comfortable.
I'm right with you on that. Absolutely.
Like, just because I live in a van doesn't mean I have to be uncomfortable.
No, in fact,
I don't have to suffer.
No, in fact, a lot of people in vans are more comfortable.
In the vans, yeah. The clouds. So when I was designing the van, I didn't know what to do for the ceiling originally. And I knew that I was going with the steampunk theme, and I was thinking about maybe kind of like a Gypsy Wagon thing, or I didn't really know. And then it came into mind that, airships are very steampunky, and how can I bring the airship kind of feel into my home? And then I had the bright idea. I was like, let's give it a glass roof. But I'm not going to really give it a glass roof. I'm going to paint clouds on the roof. It gives me a little more head space. My head's always in the clouds up here. And I think it came out really nice. I did this with just spray paint. I painted some panels blue, and then I made some kind of rough cut stencils, and I spray painted the clouds on there. Took me a couple hours on an afternoon to spray paint the clouds. And
Stephen, it really does feel airier, lighter, and airier.
Yeah.
Because of it, I almost feel it's an optical illusion, I know, but it almost feels like there's not a ceiling.
Well, one of the things that let me point out is most of the van builds that you see use blonde wood, white siding, white shiplap. People really like the light colored vans. I work with my hands. I work as a contractor, a welder, an electrician. I'm generally a little dirty. The white van for me wasn't going to work out because it was going to just be filthy, and I don't like seeing that. So part of the reason for me to go, not only the steampunk aesthetic, but also the functionality of me being a laborer, the white van with white linens and all of that wasn't going to work for me. Yeah. So the dark colors, although sometimes feel a little smaller, I do get that cabin in the woods feeling, and the light ceiling is a good contrast between. If I would have gone with the dark wood ceiling, it would have felt like we were inside of a boat, and it would have felt really, really, really small. So that's why I went with the clouds on the ceiling. There's an inch of insulation above there, and then this is just attached to the cross members. If we look here where I've done my lights, if we can kind of get to these angles, these lights here are just LEDs, and that's actually sitting in the channel of the cross member. So the cross member that comes down is kind of a smooth W shape, and there's a little hole in the middle, and that's where I laid the LED tape and actually just used holes that are already there to bolt this guy up, and it holds everything together. I designed these to look kind of like an I-beam that's coming across. So when I put the ceiling in, the ceiling is actually just a piece of Luan. It's like a 1/8 inch plywood. Above it, since I was already tearing everything out, I had about an inch worth of space. I used polyiso foam. It's the one that's got the silver lining on the sides. It's like a foil lining. Attached it with great stuff, which is that foam that expands. So you spray that on, you put it up there, and you let that become a glue, and that'll attach it without any holes. And then I filled in the edges with more of the expanding foam so that there was no air gaps behind the foam all the way across. Then I just laid the decorative panels on top of that. That same foam is in all of the doors except for the driver's, these 2 doors on the side, just because I ran out of time and money. Eventually they'll get their foam. One of the things that I do to keep myself sane as an artist, the biggest thing that I miss is not having studio space. So I always bring one art project with me that's a long-term project that I can work on when I have downtime. It helps keep my brain at ease. So what you see back here is my current project, which is building in steampunk world, we call these splendid teapot racers, but essentially it's going to be an RC car that has a teapot on top of it. I've got a series of these. This is probably the 5th one of these that I've made. But they're a lot of fun, and we go to the steampunk events, and everybody brings their teapot, and we all race in a silly little obstacle course challenge. You know, it just runs with a little zip, 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 and zip around. Super fun.
Why is there a teapot on top? Where did that come from?
It's a steampunk thing. It actually came from the steampunk community out of New Zealand.
Oh.
They invented splendid teapot racing, and if you look up splendid teapot racing, you can get the full history. I'm not going to go into it because I could talk about it for hours. Okay, so we're going to talk about the one space that you haven't seen. Like I said, I've taken advantage of every single inch possible. So the last space is under the bed.
Okay, here we go.
So a couple of things you'll notice, I do keep little bits of art around. Here's a little sculpture that I made. It's just a little trinket box. And to make these sculptures, we're going to go into deep storage.
Okay.
Layer 1, these are all my blackouts for my windows. When I work the beet harvest, I usually work the night shift, so I have to sleep during the day. So having complete blackout for the windows is important. That's the only time I care about it. Under here, we get into the garage. And what I have is my mechanics tools. Velma Vanship here has almost 250,000 miles, so sometimes I have to stop and fix something. And to be able to do that, I carry about 90 pounds worth of mechanics tools in this box. With what's in this box, if I can't fix it with what's in this box, it's a big problem. So I got that, and then back here is just more assorted tools that allow me to do things like solar installs or build outs for people. Arts and crafts, tool storage. So it lives under here. And there's one more section under the bed. Pull up here, we've got the cabinet that houses pots, pans, plates, bowls. In case I have a friend come over, I have 2 bowls, 2 plates, 2 forks. No more than that. It's not necessary. All right, we got a little light left, so I'm going to try and get this in here before nighttime. Yeah. This side of the van, I call this public works. This is a rare thing. Most vans, if it's not a minivan, don't have doors on the driver's side. I've seen maybe 4 of these on the road since I realized that they exist. They're very rare, but it gives me a lot of access to everything that we need to survive in the van. I call it public works. What lives back here: diesel for my diesel heater, 2 fresh water tanks, gray water tank, kitty litter bucket, cleaning supplies. My batteries are hidden back there where you can't see them. There's no reason to access them. Access to my propane tank in and out from back here. The advantage of all of this is I didn't have to make my cabinets big enough to pull the components out, because I can just get at them from this side. Made the build a lot easier.
A lot easier, yeah.
And all the electrical, everything in here is actually hidden. You can't really see anything because that's what I do.
Nice, nice. You really maximized your storage, and even in the doors.
Yeah, the doors hold my extension cords. You know, fun stuff. I always keep a kite, and a frisbee is in the other one. Little battery charger. The most important thing in van life, of course, is this guy. You've got to have this guy.
Beautiful. Okay, awesome. Let's see what's in the back.
All right. But wait, there's more. So in the back here, you'll notice a residential air conditioner. This is just a little 5,000 BTU unit. My solar system will not regularly run this. In an emergency, I can run it for about 2 hours. The caveat is it takes me about a week to recharge my batteries. So this is a shore power only unless it's an emergency. I recently added a little ladder, extra tool storage up top, ladder so I can do work. And when we come in here, is the last little bit of storage in the van. So every inch is used in this van. There's curtains for the back. I don't know if I don't have any more light for you. Hiking equipment lives here. The jack and van emergency stuff lives under here. There's just a little cubby hole under there.
And it slides all the way under the bureau.
Yes, all the way under, all the way under the closet. These are screens for the windows in case I'm in a mosquito area. And over on this side is where I keep my chair.
Oh, yeah.
I like a folding chair because those camp chairs hurt my back.
Yes.
And they're horrible to store. They take up a lot of space. This guy's about 1 inch thick. Takes up no space. In front of it is 2 tables, my yoga mat. This is my preferred way to use the bathroom. is to be somewhere that I can use the shovel. Then there's a little bit of storage on there where there's another toolbox of it's the junk drawer that you keep in your kitchen. It lives under there in a little toolbox.
Got it. And then what a big cargo box you have.
Yes, and it's just filled with tools.
My goodness. Wow.
Just filled with tools.
How is it for you to drive with all that weight on top like that?
Can't tell. This is a 1-ton van.
Oh.
The max cargo for this van is 9,600 pounds. As she sits, we're about 9,000.
Okay.
So we're way up there.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. The mileage doesn't change. She's got plenty of power as a 1-ton van. We'll climb a mountain, no problem. Up and down the mountains all the time. I spend lots of time in Colorado. So if you're paying attention, the minivan was Rosie, named after Rosie the robot from the Jetsons, because Rosie took care of me. This one is Velma, after Velma Dinky from Scooby-Doo.
It's a Scooby-Doo van.
Because we're going on adventures together. So Velma's colors are orange and brown. I didn't bring up much of the orange because it was a little too hot. There's a spot on the outside where it's integrated. But those are the little secret details of why it is what it is.
It's like the code.
All my vehicles are cartoon girls or cartoon female characters.
That's great. That's such a wonderful way to personalize it.
Yeah. It took me a long time to figure out what to name her. I waffled a lot, and then I was like, no, I got to go back to the roots, to the cartoon ladies that are taking care of me. Rosie took care of me so good for so long. I was like, if I make her Velma, she'll do the same.
And so far, so good, right?
So far, so good. She's been an excellent van.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen.
My pleasure.
What a fun tour. And
My pleasure.
Beautiful home.
Thank you so much.